Well, hi everybody. Welcome to Stratosphere Lounge. I'm your host, Bill Whittle, and God, this is 170 of these things. You put a lot of people to sleep with 170 of these shows. But anyway, we're back for a brief Wednesday before Thanksgiving Stratosphere Lounge. Hope everybody's doing well. Not too much to report. I was feeling pretty bad all last week. Just really low energy. It is unbelievably warm in the studio right now. They've shut off the air conditioning as they usually do. I think it was 93 today in Sherman Oaks. 93 above zero Fahrenheit. So it's toasty. I have been saving this socialism firewall. I think I've said before, I've been talking about it for a while. I wanted to have three examples. One was Venezuela, one was Cuba, and the third one was Bernie Sanders. And I know that that Fidel had died with $900 million, and Bernie Sanders owns three houses. And it was, I wouldn't say pleasant surprise, a useful surprise for me to discover that the daughter of Hugo Chavez, who brought the miracles of socialism to Venezuela, has a net worth of $4.2 billion. If you can be a socialist after this, there's something really, really wrong with you. And we know that there's something really, really wrong with them because this stuff has been going on forever. $4.2 billion Hugo Chavez's younger daughter has in assets. Fidel Castro, as I've said before and will say again, basically amassed $900 million by making his cab drivers work 20 hours a day, every day for the entire month, no days off, by charging them $6,000 for a taxi license and paying them $100 in socialist benefits and cash. And Bernie Sanders has three houses. When I heard the Bernie Sanders thing, I have to tell you, I just simply could not believe it was true. It's one of those things where it was one of those things that are too good to be true. And when they're too good to be true, they usually are not true. But this one apparently is. The guy who's basically railing against the excesses of capitalism, who's never had a job in his life, owns three houses. And I don't know. I plan to use this argument to hammer people into the ground. Next time I do a college event and I ask how many Bernie supporters are out there, I'm gonna wait for them to put their hands up. I'm gonna tell them about the three houses. I'm gonna say, don't take my word for it, look it up, and then I'm going to sit there and I'm going to wait, and I'm just gonna wait until they explain it to me. They're just going to have to explain it to me, and I'm not going to go on until they can explain it to me, because they can't explain it. There's just no way to explain it. You know, you can't... I have a very high regard for Ronald Reagan. If Ronald Reagan was alive today and then just announced that he had just passed a plan for single-payer health care, I'd have to decide whether I wanted to be disappointed and stay with this erroneous belief that I had, or whether I wanted to change my mind. And I would change my mind. I think any one of those three arguments is a mic drop argument, but all three of them together should take, I don't know, hopefully 3 minutes or less. Bam, bam, bam. 3 hits with a hammer. Every single one of these people looked up to as a man of the people who had nothing but the interest of the common man in mind, and didn't let success go to his head, and still's one of the little guys and so on, when in point of fact, it is simply a scam for the least talented among us to amass $4.2 billion or $900 million or several million in the case of Bernie. I will admit that Bernie hasn't collected the kind of fortune that Fidel and Ms. Chavez has, but we can basically attribute that to the Constitution and his age. Because if Bernie Sanders was young and good looking, I think he would have won that election last time. So there you go. There was a Democratic, some kind of a caucus or something not too long ago. And I mean, like, I think, unless I misread the data, which wouldn't be the first time, basically said that 26% of Democrats called themselves capitalists, 43% call themselves socialists. And, my inclination would be to let them have it. That would be the surest cure of it, is to let them have it. But unfortunately, I can't figure out a way to let them have their socialism without me getting their socialism too, and that's not worth winning an argument over. So here we are again. $18 billion goes into the pot on the other side, and wow. But you can't flip them, so you just have to keep slugging out, I guess. So that's basically it around here. We have a Thanksgiving show I like very much. And beyond that, we're just going to do a membership appeal on Friday. It's basically just going to say the same thing that we're always saying, which is we can beat these people. We're beating them. This is interesting. The firewall I did on the shooting, where I said basically the leading forensic experts on mass shootings say it's not got anything to do with the guns or access to guns. It's got to do with the coverage and the glory of it. It's a pretty straightforward thing, not a curse word in there. YouTube demonetized that video. And then yesterday I did a Nexus report that I thought was important enough to put out to the public, thanks to the generosity of our paying members. And that one basically talked about the connection between people like John Lasseter, who's in charge of Pixar and is creative director for Walt Disney, being cut from the same cloth as all the rest of these perverts out here. And that one was demonetized as well. And they have the audacity, these YouTube people, which is Google, because Google owns YouTube. They have the audacity to put, it's almost like, it's like a real slap in the face. First of all, they decide if there's anything in there that they don't like, they demonetize the content. And then after that, on a little line below that, they put a line that says, confirmed by manual review, which means that it wasn't just an algorithm. The algorithm saw things that maybe progressives didn't like, but obviously they can't look at every video that's posted on YouTube. So they have an algorithm that, flags things that they find offensive to their personal philosophy. They take a look at it, and they probably don't have to watch the whole thing. I'm sure they just watch enough of it to see something that they didn't like, and then they just demonetize it. And if they do it after it's made, in other words, if it starts out monetized and 20,000 views and 20,000 monetized views, and then they demonetize it, then it's gone. So this is a problem. And we have to just look at the bright side on this, which is they wouldn't be taking this kind of publicity hit if it wasn't working. Cheryl Toomey just announced on the comment section to make the after hours interview I did yesterday public. It is going to be public. It's public now, I think, on YouTube. It's going up on Facebook tomorrow once we get the subtitles in. Just very quickly, for those of you who are not members, I did an interview. I did it probably 2 weeks ago, or maybe even a little bit more. It's been busy time. But I talked at length for about an hour with a guy named Chadwick Moore. Chadwick Moore was the editor-in-chief, I guess sequentially, I don't think at the same time, but he was the editor-in-chief of the two largest gay magazines in the world. And in September of 2016, I think it was, he just decided that he never particularly liked the left, but he'd always heard that conservatives were just so horrible and worse. That's basically the equation, by the way, for those people who are out there who are not Republicans. There's an awful lot of people out there who consider themselves, who vote Democrat, who don't like anything about the Democrats. They don't like the social justice warriors. They don't like the political correctness. They don't like any of it. But they're convinced that the only thing worse than a Democrat is a Republican. And Chadwick felt that way too. but he became a conservative, and he thought that he might get a little flack for it, but he didn't expect what actually happened. What actually happened was he lost all of his friends the way that David Mamet did. And he got a lot of hate mail and death threats, and the mail that he got was pretty much the same thing. I think he said it broke down into two categories. Either you're doing it for the money or you're doing it for the attention, which is an odd thing to say to somebody who's extremely successful, who basically loses his job as editor of this enormous magazine. I don't see how he's doing it for the money. And as far as the attention goes, he was getting a fair amount of attention before. This guy was well established. He called it social suicide, and I thought that's the best term I've ever heard for it. We talked about a theme that I've been discussing for a while, and that I've heard 7, 8, 9, 10 times or something. And that is from gay Republicans, gay conservatives, to say that announcing that they're gay to conservatives is just a non-event. It's just okay. Well, okay. But if you tell your liberal friends that you're a conservative, then you're banished into the woods and the dark, alone with no food. And that's basically what he talks about. It's a really good segment. The first one's long. I think I got 5 or 6 segments with him out of it. We'll keep some for members, but this first one was really important because it is so destructive to their narrative to have somebody who bought the narrative, who was prominent in the left movement, prominent, influential, who basically had the intellectual and moral courage to take a look at the facts, and then enough of the moral courage to at least explore what the other side is talking about. And when he found out what we're talking about and what we're not talking about, he said, these people are awesome, and the philosophy is great. I don't want to give the whole interview away, but I will tell you, because this was I thought it was extremely moving. I still think it's extremely moving. He said that since he'd announced publicly that he was a conservative, he's gotten a number of death threats from the left and constant accusations as well of, like I said, of being a sellout, an Uncle Tom, a self-hating gay, and all the rest of it. He said the worst thing he heard from the right, and here I am bracing myself, because no team is perfect. You're going to have outliers on every side of the political spectrum, and I thought, oh man, this is not going to be good. So the worst thing I heard from the right was from I think I'm quoting correctly from memory. He said it was from a rancher in Texas, and I'm thinking, oh boy, here it comes. And he described this person who wrote him and said he's a rancher in Texas. He's a fundamentalist Christian. And he wrote Chadwick upon hearing the news. And basically what he wrote was, he said, I'm a fundamentalist Christian. I live in Texas. I got a lot of guns, and I have a cattle ranch. And I just wanted to say, I don't approve of your lifestyle, but welcome to the party, and I love you. That's the most heinous thing that was written to him from conservatives. That sentence is a giant killer. If I could get that sentence, you know what? I just actually gave myself an idea. That happens every now and then. I am going to cut that sentence down to his sentence. And I'm just gonna run that. It'll probably be 15 seconds, something like that. It is just absolutely fatal to not just to the way the left swings gay voters away from Republicans and conservatives, but I really should just get together. I should just get a clip of him, a clip of Antonia Okafor, a clip of Alfonso Rachel, and just that. And just put it out there and say, this is the facts. These are the facts, and you can take them or leave them. But you don't get the fig leaf anymore of telling yourself that you're working for the good guys, because you're not working for the good guys. You're working for the bad guys. I still cannot get over that email that he received. It fills me with a burning pride. This is one of those moments. And I have several of these. One of those moments when I just realize I'm on the right team. I'm on the right team. This is the side that is actually not only just correct, because you can be correct and also immoral and evil and all the rest, but correct and worthy. Correct and noble and worthy of it, which is why they need $18 billion and I need 33 cents a day. And we're about evenly matched because of the power of being on the right side. So that was a real pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting for him to hear a lot of it, but I was astonished that he didn't hear anything. And the closing of that, and taking the time to write that email. My God. So we should all be very proud of ourselves for having the good taste or the soul, having the good taste or having a soul, one or the other, to be on the side of what's right. That's why we don't have to lie about what we believe, because we know we're on the side of the angels. We don't have to say one thing and do something else. And we don't have to talk about how the Democrats are at war with women while we're out, putting our tongue down the throats of every intern that arrives at your studio. We don't have to do that. I mentioned this may be what set the Google YouTube people off. I mentioned in that Nexus report yesterday, if you didn't see it, that it makes a kind of sense. There's a kind of a moral logic to becoming a left-winger if you've got no moral core, because, first of all, it gives you the opportunity to do whatever you want to, but more importantly, it gives you cover. If you go to women's events and you stand up and say, I'm a proud feminist and I'm against this male privilege or this white privilege or this straight privilege or whatever, just thumping your chest about how good you are, it provides cover. It's a form of camouflage, really. People don't look at you, they don't investigate you, they don't make assumptions about you because you've demonstrated to them that you're on the team of the intelligent people and the virtuous people. And I'm just going to go off on a little rant about the intelligence thing too. This of all the things about the left, the thing that nowadays, I've been doing this for a while now, the thing that really strikes me now is how smart they think they are and how little they actually know about things. In every case, they just constantly say these things. I believe in science. You don't know what science is. Just the fact you say, I believe in science. I believe in science. That's I believe in. It's a 4-word sentence that tells me that you don't have any idea what science is. Science is not a philosophy. It's a tool of inquiry. Very effective. It's not a philosophy. So when I hear people say things like that, they think that they're being smart. They think they're showing everybody how intelligent they are, and they're not. They're just idiots. They've got just a tiny little bit of knowledge, and the same stories and arguments go round and round and round again, and you can just puncture every one of them. Oh, and parenthetically, I am also going to be releasing over the Thanksgiving weekend something I did in Irvine a couple months ago now. I did a very quick speech, and I basically said I'd much rather spend this time on question and answers. So I basically said to these TPUSA kids, and there were a lot of them in there, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, I said, I want you to ask me the kind of questions that these progressives and socialists ask you, and I want you to ask it of me in the exact same snooty, derisive, insulting tone. And so they did. Why do you hate black people? If you drive on the roads, then how can you hate socialism? And all of them. And we're just, I don't know, maybe just practice, just banging these things out of the park. It's so easy. It's so easy because I never, when I hear these things now, how, if you were a white president, how could you possibly connect to black people? I immediately look for the unearned moral superiority there. I immediately look for what they're trying to say morally. I essentially ignore what they're trying to say in terms of the actual argument because the evidence for that is overwhelming. But I try to get a look at what are they morally saying. They're saying, how can you possibly, if you were a white president, how could you possibly understand the needs of black people? And my instantaneous response was, what are you saying? You're saying that black people are not human the same way that I am? You're saying they're not human beings? Is that what you're saying? It sounds pretty an awful thing to say. You're saying we can't communicate on this level? By that same reasoning, if I can't understand the needs of a black person, then why do we have black actors in Shakespearean plays? How can they possibly understand what a white man was thinking 400 years ago? It's a disgusting and racist thing to say. Of course I can understand the plight of an individual person. If I sit down and listen and somebody tells me about the injustices in their lives, I can understand that as well as anybody else. It just simply is a disgusting display of racism on your part. And it's over. It's over. You know, they expect me to say, I don't know what they expect me to say. Well, you know, we've been reaching out to the black community. I say, I don't believe in a black community. I don't believe in the black community. I mean, I understand that there is such a thing, but I don't believe in it I don't believe it in the same kind of structure that the way the left believes in it. Got a big laugh from Chadwick during the interview. And I said, you know, sometimes people ask me, well, what do you think about gay people? And I say, which one are you talking about? You know, and this identity thing has just got to stop. It's got to stop. And this is a very sellable idea. So there you go.